Hey there, welcome back. So in this video, we're gonna check the while loop. Now the first question that might occur in your mind is pretty simple. Why we would require multiple type of loops in Java? Now in total, there are three types of loop. First loop is a for loop. Then we have the while loop, and then we also have a do while loop. Now friends, do while loop is a little different when compared to for loop and while loop. So there might be scenario where a do while loop is required, and for that matter of purpose we will consider that alright, do while loop is a requirement. But while loop and for loop are similar. We can do each and everything which we can do in while loop. The same thing could be implemented easily using the while loop. Now friends, the reason behind why we would require two types of loop is definitely convenience. There are scenarios where a for loop is better suited. Likewise, there could be scenario where a while loop is better suited. So these are specific type of tools and we can use them based on our convenience. Alright, so now finally moving forward, we would be like adding a very simple loop, because now you guys might be aware of how to make use of loop. So we will make this a super short and easy to understand video. Alright, so first of all, if I ask you a question, what are the three components which are required for a loop? What are these? Take a pause, think about it, and then come back and I will give you the answer. Now friends, the first part which is required for a loop is the initialization of the variable part, the variable on which the loop would be dependent. For example, in case of for, maybe the name of the variable could be like I. So we initialize a variable, right? So this initialization part is the first part. Now the second part is the condition. Now the condition also plays a very important role, because the condition would be false after a specific number of iterations. For example, in here I can say I is less than equals to 10, right? And then the increment or the decrement part. So for example, in here I say I plus plus. So this is a ideal for loop, right? Now all of these three components are required for a loop, and while loop is not an exception. So in here, the way how we can do this is pretty simple. First of all, we need to initialize a variable. Now the initialization of the variable is separate in while loop. So in here, I will simply type in int j equals to 1 semicolon. Now in here, I would also like you to show one interesting thing. Even if I say int I equals to 1, even then there won't be any compile time error, because whenever we create these for loop and we initialize a variable inside the for loop, the scope of this variable is just inside this code block. Now we will discuss about scope in greater detail, but this is a good to know information that this would be a local variable, local and like a private copy for this for loop. So we can make use of same name in multiple for loops. So that's an interesting thing. Alright, so that's one thing. Now moving forward, the condition part. Let me also get rid of this for loop in order to reduce the confusion. Right, so in here we have this variable. What is the second part? Second part is definitely the condition part. Now we define the condition in our while loop block. So we will type in while, and there would be a pair of parentheses, and then we will also add in the code block. So that's it, and inside this pair of parentheses we will add in the condition. The condition could be like I is less than equals to 10, pretty simple example. And then moving forward, we would be incrementing or decrementing the variable based on your condition. So in here I will simply type in I plus plus. So this is good, and in order to simply check whether everything is working or not, we will simply like output I. And if we execute this program, then we will get a very simple and sober output, and the output will say 1 to 10 in every digit in a new line. So this is a good example. Now moving forward, definitely a variable would be required in order to have a while loop. Well, the answer is no. In fact, this particular part is optional. We can get rid of it. We can also get rid of this increment and decrement, and we can also get rid of this condition, and in place of condition we can either say true or false. So the condition part should be either true or false. Now in here we can say true. Now as soon as we add in this true inside the condition of the while loop, then definitely this becomes a infinite loop, and we can for example add in a message in here, infinite loop, and again our program will execute perfectly. Definitely this is not a good program because infinite loop are definitely not recommended in programming. Now friends, the overall point I'm trying to make is that loops are flexible and you can like make use of these loops based on your requirement. So that's pretty simple. For example, in here I can add in this break statement, and this will simply break the infinite loop. Again, that is a good way to print infinite loop, right? So loops are flexible, and this is the way how we can make use of while loop. Let me also show you the syntax. First thing you need to add in is the initialization part, then the condition part, and the increment and the decrement part, and this is the ideal and the recommended way of making use of while loop. But definitely you can play around with the while loop, and based on your business logic you can make use of loops. Alright, so this was the while loop. Definitely there are more to while loop and for loop which we will check in our forthcoming videos. Alright, so this was Chand. Take care and have a nice day.